You really to help battle all of the things that are gonna be coming at you, from the naysayers to the financial obligations or the lack of finances that might be in the beginning, in those early days when you're trying to build into this new career or new business. You really, really need to know your why.
You're listening to Working Forward, a Future of Work focused podcast from People Forward Network. These episodes pave the road ahead, helping us confidently step into the future as a leader who moves people forward. Let's go.
I'm Laurie Shakur, and this is Putting the Human Back in Human Resources. We're diving deep into the world of HR and leadership, exploring pivotal elements that shape workplace dynamics while unraveling the impact of positive leadership and sharing the significance of creating healthy workplaces where people can truly thrive. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Story time. Historically, I never enjoyed changing jobs, even if I was unfulfilled or had a crappy boss. And yes, I've had my fair share of those. I just didn't relish the thought of looking, interviewing, and starting over again. I know that I stayed at companies longer than my mental health would have allowed, but I let fear hold me back. I've now matured, and I recognize that it's healthy to want more and to go after your dreams. One of my favorite coaching questions: what would I do if I weren't scared? Recently, I met someone, let's call him Alex. Alex had been with the same company for over 25 years in the same job for nearly a decade. And while he was very good at what he did, he felt unfulfilled and underappreciated. One evening, after another extremely challenging day, Alex decided that perhaps it was time for a change. But like many of us, Alex was plagued by doubts and fear. He wondered if he was really good enough, if after being at the same company for so long, whether his skills were still relevant, and if he could truly offer something valuable for another organization. I encouraged Alex to take the StrengthsFinder 2.0 assessment. After completing the assessment, he listed his technical skills, academic pedigrees, and his ability to effectively lead projects, and his knack for building strong collaborative teams. But beyond these tangible skills, through this process, Alex also recognized his soft skills, his empathy, resilience, and his ability to think creatively under pressure. This process was transformative. It wasn't just about listing his skills. It was about truly understanding and owning what he brought to the table. With this newfound self-awareness, Alex began his job search, but he didn't do it alone. He sought the guidance of a career coach, someone who had been in the industry for years and who could provide insight and encouragement. This mentor helped Alex see his potential and gave him practical advice on navigating the job market. They worked together on refining his resume, bolstering his LinkedIn profile, practicing interview techniques, and most importantly, focusing on Alex's confidence. The result? Alex landed the job of his dreams, a role that not only appreciated his skills, but also aligned with his personal values and career aspirations. His journey wasn't about finding a new job. Ultimately, it was about rediscovering his own worth and potential. So as we delve into today's episode, let's remember Alex's story. Knowing our strengths and understanding what you bring to an organization is key. And don't hesitate to seek help. Seeking help from a trusted friend, mentor, or a coach who can guide and support you through the process could be just what you need. Let's listen in. Well, hello. I am so excited to be here today with Madelyn Mackie. Let me tell you a little bit about Madelyn. The road to career success and happiness starts with having big dreams. That's one of Madelyn's quotes. Our speaker today dreamed of scientific discoveries, working on Broadway, and saving the world. And if you can believe it, all of those big dreams have come true. Listen, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Madelyn, who is going to help us activate our own career dreams. She's going to give us a hint about her magic recipe so that we can also have our big dreams come true. Please join me as we welcome Madelyn Mackie. Madelyn, I couldn't be more excited.
Oh, I am so thrilled to be here with you, Laurie, and to share career activation tips. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
I think so. You've had quite a career. You don't have a traditional trajectory. Share some highlights. How did you get from biochemistry to Broadway? Listening minds want to know.
Well, that's a very good question. So I am an extreme linear thinker. And so I said, oh, I'll go work in the chemistry lab and I'll put the molecules together. But the problem with that is I didn't care if you put hydrogen and oxygen together and you got water or you blew up the lab. It was not my passion. And my true love was the theater. But everybody kept telling me, you're never going to make a living at theater. You're going to be waiting tables for the rest of your life, and you'll be sleeping on your parents' couch. But being a stubborn and naive 20-year-old, I decided to do it anyway. So I graduated with a theater degree, and I spent the next 15 years working at professional theaters all across the country, including 4 Tony Award-winning theaters as a stage manager and production manager. Then after 15 years in theater, I got a little burnt out, a little jaded. I wanted work-life balance. I wanted to make some more money. And I had been a volunteer with the Red Cross. And I was like, oh, what if the Red Cross would hire me? It took some convincing. It took a lot of convincing. We'll talk about that a little bit later during today's session. But eventually I convinced them to hire me. They hired me as a program manager. And then within 18 months, they promoted me to an officer position. So I essentially went from the lab to the stage to the C-suite of an international nonprofit.
Amazing. That is such an inspiring trajectory. But now you're doing career coaching. How did we get here?
How do we get here? Well, I was working at the Red Cross, and the thing that people don't realize is when you work in professional theater, you're laid off every 8 weeks. Every time a show opens, it will close, and then you have to look for a new job. You are contracted on a show-by-show basis. And so me, being a very linear thinker, thinking, oh my goodness, if I have to keep applying for jobs for the rest of my life, I want a system in place so that I don't have to think about it. I want to have a checklist. I want to have templates. I want to have tools and resources. I want to have a timeline so that I don't have to think about doing this job search thing. I just did what my plan told me to do. So it said, you know what? A week after the show opens, update your resume. 2 weeks after the show opens, start sending out your resume. 3 weeks after the show opens, start networking for your next production. And I would just do what my calendar told me to do. I used the templates I created, and I always found my next job. Well, my theater friends are like, Madelyn, how do you always get hired so quickly for your next gig? And I said, well, let me show you my system. And I showed my theater friends the system. They used it. They started to get hired. Then one day someone called me and said, hi, I understand you're a career coach and you help people find jobs. Can you help me? And I was like, I'm a what? And they were like, they said, you help people find jobs. How much do you charge? And I said, well, that's a very good question. Well, let's have an assessment call and I'll put together a proposal. So the career coaching thing just started as a side hustle. And I did it for many, many years, helping people write their resumes, their LinkedIn profiles, helping them with interviews and job search strategies. It was really something I did on the side, and it was really something I did for my inner circle. It wasn't something I thought I'd make a big business out of. I just said, oh, yeah, I'll help people and I'll charge them a little bit for this service and have a little extra runaround money.
I heard so many good nuggets there for our audience. One, and it's been said so many times, this is a perfect example of when preparation meets opportunity. You were so ready and poised, and you had been doing it for a while. One of the key messages that I tell aspiring entrepreneurs is, see if you can do it as a side gig before you make it your full time. It's a much safer way to transition. And then what I also heard is, it sounds like a natural talent and something you were just naturally good at. And that's always a good recipe for success.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I give the exact same advice to anyone that comes and says, I want to start a business. And I'll say, okay, well, why don't you volunteer and do that? Find a nonprofit that provides that service and partner with them. I started writing resumes at the Career One stops on my lunch hour. There was one right down the street, and I would go there and I would write 4 or 5 resumes for the clients and then go back to the office and go back to work. And it was really a great way to test the marketability of my product. Did it work? And then, of course, I was able to get testimonials from people that had used it. And also, I was now able to say that I was a partner with my local Career One Stop and get referrals from them. So even though in the beginning I wasn't getting paid at all, it really did lay the foundation and teach me, is this something I want to do? And if so, how do I do it successfully? How do I do it well?
So much insight. So much self-reflection went into it. But it didn't turn into a career right away. You said for a couple of years it was a side gig. Often I get the question, how do I change careers? What would you say? Because maybe someone doesn't have the patience and the systems and the processes that you have. What advice would you give someone that wants to navigate a career transition?
So the best way to navigate a career transition is you need to take a step back and figure out a few things. For me, when I decided, I want to be a career coach, I want to be a career coach and resume writer, I started to talk to other career coaches and resume writers. I wanted to talk about the industry. I wanted to talk about how they got clients. How did they pay their health insurance, right? So I was transitioning into an entrepreneur role, but I give the same advice if I have someone that's like, no, I don't want to start a business. I just want to have a new job. I want to go into a new industry. See, when I switched from the arts to disaster response, I knew already about the disaster response industry because I had been a volunteer for 5 years. So I had been out in the field serving my community as a disaster responder. I had attended meetings. I went to conferences. So I really knew that world and knew I would be comfortable in it. See, a lot of us have good ideas. They're like, I have this great idea that I want to be an app developer. So I'm going to go to a software boot camp and learn how to program. And then I'm going to go make $250,000 a year as a software developer. And I say, okay, well, why don't you just take a quick online class and learn how to do some basic coding and make your own app and see how you like it. You don't even have to sell the app, but test out, do you like sitting there writing code all day? And if you don't, then that's not the career for you. So really test it out and talk to people. I remember at one point I thought I wanted to do professional facilitation, and I still do that. But when I talk to professional facilitators and the time and energy that went into them facilitating a workshop, and the real purpose of a facilitator was to be able to give the applause to the group you were facilitating. You don't get the applause as a facilitator. And I was like, oh no, that's not for me. That's not for me long term. I like applause. I like people saying you did a good job up there on the stage. So I knew, even though I had that skill set and I took some training in it, I never got certified, and I'm able to offer it as a service to my clients, but it's not my bread and butter. So really, if you're trying to switch careers or you're trying to be an entrepreneur, I highly encourage you to talk to people in the industry doing that work, and ask them what they like about it, what they would change, what path they took to get there. Then invest in some training. Maybe you start small and go to YouTube University. A lot of us have learned a lot of things at YouTube University. LinkedIn Learning has some great classes about different skills and different programs. So learn a little bit more about it and then test it out. Take it for a test run as a volunteer, or not trying to get paid a whole lot of money to do it, and see if you like it. And then you'll have better knowledge as to whether or not this career shift is the right step for you.
Thank you for that, Madelyn. Passion, commitment, energy, it does play a big part in what we ultimately do with our time and how we contribute. Let's talk a little bit about personal branding. So I love what you said about going out, learning, and talking to people, but I often get the comment, I don't like self-promoting myself. So tell us a little bit about maybe some suggestions you'd have for someone around building up a personal brand while they're transitioning to a new role, or maybe not even transitioning, but to better enhance their existing brand.
Right? A lot of people, branding scares people. They hear that word and they're like, oh, I don't want to be a brand strategist, or how do I have to work with a brand strategist to figure out my brand? And really, your brand is your superpower. It's your area of expertise. So it's really important with that area of expertise, you share that knowledge and information in a way that works for you. So a lot of people see the influencers out there and they see them making cute videos and TikToks, and they think, oh, am I going to have to do all that? No, not at all. I built my brand by sharing tips. So if you're on my newsletter list, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm always sharing 3 tips to update your resume, 3 tips to optimize your LinkedIn profile, 5 tips to improve your interview skills, 2 ways to earn more salary in your salary negotiations. That's what I've become known for, is sharing advice and tips. And I did a lot of it in writing. It wasn't on video. It wasn't through TikTok. It was all through content creation. So I created really good content. And in the beginning, honestly, I used other people's content. And so I said, oh, here's a great article by my friend Donna that I want to share with everyone. And so people started to know me. Madelyn has the best resources. She's really connected to all the right information. So I became known as I was a resource to individuals. So really, as you're building your brand, I'd say start with focusing on what is your area of expertise, number one. What's the skill you want to share with the world, or what's the content you want to share with the world? And then figure out what vehicle you want to position that content. Maybe you are great on video. Maybe you're great as a public speaker. Maybe you're great as a writer. Figure out what that second superpower is to deliver that expertise, and then focus on one, right? A lot of people are like, do I have to be on TikTok? Do I have to be on Instagram? Do I have to be on Facebook? Do I have to be on LinkedIn? Pick one and do it really, really well, sharing your expertise through that primary vehicle.
Here we go. You're talking my language, heart's desire. I can imagine some of our audience would say, well, that sounds really easy for Madelyn. I need a mentor, or I need a network. I often hear the importance, and I believe in the power of mentorship and network. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts. Where, if any, did mentorship and networking play into your prior success? This is a 2-parter. And if so, does it also play into the advice and counsel that you give individuals looking to change jobs? Mentoring and network. I know.
I love it. So let me tell you a quick little story about how mentoring and networking helped me advance my own career. So I was a volunteer at the Red Cross, and when the job came open to be a program manager, I sent my resume to every single person I knew that worked at the organization.
Every single person.
Every single person. I said, I'll let HR figure out who gets the referral bonus, but I'm going to send it to every person I know. And then HR called me and they said, Madelyn, I just have to tell you, this has never happened before in my HR career. 8 people, including the CEO, walked your resume into my office. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And she's like, oh, no. That's not the amazing part. The amazing part is when I look at your resume, you have no background in program management, project management, disaster response, business continuity, volunteer management, grant management, and all the skills required to do this job. But since one of the people that brought your resume was my boss, what time do you want to come in for an interview? I would not have the career I had if it had not been for my network. Every single job along the way came to me from my network. So that old adage of your net worth is tied to your net work is very, very true. Because people hire and do business who they know, like, and trust. And so your circle of influence, the people around you that know your work ethic, that know your personality, their voice will speak louder to your next opportunity than any resume, than any LinkedIn profile, or any interview. Your network can help you get to that next level. So I highly recommend to everybody, you need to start building a network. And I know the next question is, how do you do that? Well, this is what I advise all of my clients to do. So first of all, if you're working in an organization, if you're working in a large organization, chances are they have what's called employee resource groups, affinity groups, business resource groups, whatever they're called. Join up with them, because in those employee resource groups, you're going to find mentors. You're going to find people who have already walked the path that you walked, that you want to walk. You will find training. You will find opportunities that aren't even advertised. So if you're part of a large corporation, get with the employee resource group. Now, maybe you're like, my company doesn't have an employee resource group. For every industry and every profession in the world, there is a professional association. So there's the Society of Human Resource Managers if you want to go into HR, the American Marketing Association if you want to be in marketing, the Product Managers Association, the Project Managers Association, you name it, there is an association. Just Google your job title and the word association, and you're going to find something. And it's the same thing. There you will find mentors and a network and training and opportunities. But you are going to have to put yourself out there. You are going to have to attend an event to see if this is your tribe. And that's the third thing. Don't just automatically assume once I find the right people, everything's going to work out. You really have to make sure that this is your tribe. And there are some groups that I walked into that I said, these are not my people. I can tell within the first 5 minutes, this is not my tribe. But there are others. When I joined the National Speakers Association, I was like, family, where have you been all my life? And I've been a member ever since. So just take some time to figure out where is your tribe and then connect with them.
I love that. I have certainly found my tribe within SHRM and other HR organizations. I know exactly what you mean when you find like-minded individuals that share a common purpose and vision. Boy, yeah. I'm also experiencing that with this podcast network, People Forward, but that's for another day. You mentioned a lot that for me came up, the need to be resilient. We'll talk a lot about resiliency. Changing careers, looking for a job requires resilience. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be career challenges. I recently was looking for a job in 2022, and I just remember thinking, get ready. Hang on, right? What advice would you have for someone around remaining resilient or optimistic? Because you hear so much about the market and it's tough and companies are laying people off. What would you tell someone in the face of that?
I'm going to say you are right to be worried, and it is a marathon. So you do need to train for it. And you need to be resilient. And so what do? Even when you're training for a marathon, you take a rest day. Do not make building this business or looking for a job a 24/7 adventure. Okay? You need to take a break from it. You need to step back from it. You need to reset. So always build in, I build in a reward system that I'm going to spend. When I was building my business, I said, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to do 2 hours a night working on this business. And then on the weekends, I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to take myself out to breakfast, or I'm going to go for a walk to my favorite place, or I'm going to read a book. So I really broke in some time, a reward system, so that if I did what I was supposed to do, I could take a little break, because it was going to be a long haul and you need to be in the right state of mind with it. And the second thing I recommend is for everybody to remember their why. Before you start on some big endeavor, you really need to know, why are you doing this? Is it because you want to provide a better life for your family? You want to make more money? You have a passion for this? You want to help others? You want to change the world? Whatever it is, you really have to be clear on your why, so that when the going gets tough, when the naysayers tell you you can't do that, that's not possible, that's not realistic, are you crazy? Oh my gosh, when I walked away from chemistry, I cannot tell you how many people thought I had lost my mind. I had a full ride all the way through PhD because I was a minority female in a hard science. And folks are like, you could make millions in your career, Madelyn, as a chemist. What are you doing? That's job security. And I was like, and I hate it with an absolute passion. They're like, yeah, but you're going to go work in theater. You're barely going to make minimum wage. And I said, yeah, but I love it. And I know I can make it work. So you really, to help battle all of the things that are going to be coming at you, from the naysayers to the financial obligations or the lack of finances that might be in the beginning, in those early days when you're trying to build into this new career or new business, you really, really need to know your why, and you need to reflect back on it. And that's where having a network and mentors can also inspire you, because the reason I was able to stick to my goals as much as I was able to was because I would look at those that made it and I would aspire to get to where they were. So it really did help me that I said, if they can do it, I can do it too. They're making a living in theater. They're paying all of their bills. They're happy. I can do that too. I just need to work a little bit harder. I'm starting a business, and look at all these people. I joined up with a lot of entrepreneur groups, and all of these amazing entrepreneurs are like, yeah, it was tough in the beginning, but I love working for myself. And I was like, I want to be able to say that. I want to be able to do that. So I really tried to find some inspiration in the people I associated with. So if you have those things, you take some rest when you need to, you understand your why and you focus on your why, and you have some aspirations, you have people you can look to who have made it, then you'll be able to endure the long race.
Madelyn, so many good nuggets there. I could talk to you for hours, but we do have a defined time. In closing, what is the key message you'd like to leave with our listeners?
So here are 3 simple steps to help you activate your dreams. Number 1, create a vision of where you want to go. Get very clear on what dream you're pursuing at this time. Then you need to cultivate the resources, your network, and your training to help you reach that goal and move forward. And finally, you need to activate. You need to pick 1 to 3 steps to take every week to move that needle. I promise you, if you create, cultivate, and activate, you will make your dreams come true.
Thanks for tuning into Working Forward. If you like what you hear, please share it with others and make sure you're following the show to not miss an episode. We are available anywhere you get your audio. See you next time.